Welcome to Read and Learn English. Today, let's talk about something almost every English learner has felt. That strange, painful silence when you want to speak, but the words won't come. You open your mouth, your heart beats faster, and suddenly, your brain goes blank. It feels like everything you studied, every word you learned, just disappeared into thin air. You tell yourself, "Why can't I speak? I know these words." And that's when the fear begins. Maybe you think you're not smart enough, or your English isn't good enough. But here's the truth. Your problem is not your English. It's your brain. Your brain is not failing you. It's protecting you. When you speak another language, especially in front of people, your brain senses danger. It remembers the moments you were corrected, laughed at, or judged. It doesn't see communication. It sees a threat. And what does the brain do when it feels danger? It freezes. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. Imagine a deer standing on a quiet road at night. The car lights hit its eyes and it stops, frozen in fear. It's not that the deer doesn't know how to move. It's that its body is protecting it from danger. The same thing happens to you when you try to speak English under pressure. Your words are there, waiting, but fear blocks the path. But here's the hopeful part. This freeze is not permanent. Once you understand why it happens, you can change how your brain responds. You can teach it that speaking English is not a threat, but a safe, joyful act of connection. In this video, we will explore what really happens inside your mind when it freezes, and how you can slowly melt that fear away. You'll learn how to turn silence into speech and nervous energy into confidence. So before we begin, take a deep breath. You're not broken. You're learning something powerful, not just how to speak English, but how to understand your own mind. Next, let's go deeper into the hidden fear that starts this whole reaction, the one that keeps so many voices quiet. The hidden fear. Every English learner knows this feeling, the quiet panic before you speak. You can feel the sentence forming in your mind, but as soon as you try to say it, your tongue turns heavy, your thoughts scatter like birds, and suddenly, the silence between you and the other person grows so loud, it feels unbearable. Why does this happen? The answer lies in something deeper than grammar or vocabulary. It's fear, quiet, invisible, powerful fear. The fear of being wrong, the fear of being judged, the fear of looking foolish. You may not say it out loud, but your body remembers every moment when you felt small because of your English. Think about that one time in school when you raised your hand and said a word differently. The class laughed. The teacher corrected you sharply. You smiled to hide the shame. But inside, your brain made a promise. Never again. It decided that silence was safer than trying. Or maybe you're in a meeting now, years later. You understand everything, but when your turn comes to speak, your chest tightens. You hear your heartbeat in your ears. Your brain whispers, "Don't mess up." And so you smile, nod, and say nothing. Again. You leave the room frustrated, asking yourself, "Why can't I speak like them?" But here's the truth that can set you free. Fear is not your enemy. It's your body's way of keeping you safe. The same system that saves you from danger also silences you when you feel emotionally threatened. Your brain doesn't see a classroom or a meeting. It sees a battlefield. It doesn't see people. It sees possible pain. This is why you can speak English fluently when you're alone, singing, watching a video, talking to yourself. In those moments, there is no threat, no eyes watching, no judgment waiting. But the moment someone listens, your brain switches from expression mode to protection mode. It shuts down your words to keep you from embarrassment. It's not because you lack intelligence. It's because your brain still remembers how rejection feels. Every hesitation, every blank moment is your mind saying, "Be careful." But now that you understand this, you can begin to change it. Because the moment you name your fear, it starts to lose its power. Fear grows in the dark. But when you shine awareness on it, when you say, "Yes, I'm scared of being judged, but I'll speak anyway," something changes inside you. Your heart opens, your courage wakes up, and little by little, you start to speak again, not perfectly, but bravely. Remember this: every confident speaker you admire once felt the same fear. They just learned to walk through it instead of hiding behind it. In the next part, we'll look inside the brain itself to see what really happens in those frozen moments and how your body and mind work together when fear takes control. Understanding this will be your first real key to freedom. The science of the freeze. To understand why your brain freezes, you have to travel inside it, to see the invisible war between emotion and logic, between fear and expression. Inside your head, two powerful systems are always talking to each other. One is ancient, wild, and fast. It's called the amygdala, the part that keeps you safe. The other is calm, modern, and intelligent. The prefrontal cortex, the part that helps you think, plan, and speak. When you feel calm, these two work like best friends. Your thinking brain organizes your thoughts. Your emotional brain feels safe enough to let words flow. But when fear appears, everything changes in seconds. The amygdala takes control. It shouts, "Danger!" It doesn't care that you're in an English class or at work. It reacts as if you're standing in front of a tiger. In that instant, your body floods with stress chemicals, adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart races, your hands sweat, your breathing changes. These reactions are not mistakes. They're ancient survival tools designed to help you run or fight. But there's a problem. You don't need to run or fight. You need to speak. And speaking, especially in another language, is one of the most delicate mental tasks the brain performs. It requires memory, focus, and rhythm, all controlled by the prefrontal cortex. But when the amygdala screams, "Danger," the thinking brain shuts down. It's like the lights go off in your control room. Words that were clear a moment ago vanish. Grammar disappears. Your mouth opens, but nothing comes out. You're not dumb. Your brain has simply entered survival mode. Imagine you're trying to play a piano piece in front of an audience. You've practiced for months. Alone, you play beautifully. But when the spotlight hits, your hands tremble and you forget the notes. That's what happens with English speaking. Fear blocks the smooth connection between what you know and what you can do. Scientists call this moment amygdala hijack. It means your emotional brain has taken over the driver's seat and your logical brain is pushed to the back. It's not a moral failure, it's biology. The same system that keeps you alive in danger also keeps you silent in embarrassment. But here's the beautiful truth. The brain is not fixed. It can learn. Every time you face your fear and stay calm, your prefrontal cortex grows stronger. It starts to tell the amygdala, Thank you for the warning, but we're safe now. Slowly, the panic fades. Words return. Confidence rebuilds. When you understand this, your whole mindset changes. Instead of saying, "I'm terrible at English," you start saying, "My brain is just reacting." That small shift gives you control. Because now you're not fighting yourself. You're working with your biology. It also explains why relaxation, breathing, and practice are so powerful. When you breathe deeply, you send a message to the amygdala. It's okay. We're safe. When you practice speaking in calm environments, you train your brain to connect English with peace, not panic. Over time, this new pattern becomes your normal state. Think of it like training a loyal dog. At first, it barks at every sound, but with patience and kindness, it learns when there's no danger. Your emotional brain works the same way. It doesn't need punishment, it needs reassurance. So the next time your mind goes blank, don't get angry. Smile gently, and remember, your brain is doing its best to protect you. It's not your enemy. It's your ally. It just needs new training. If fear causes the freeze, then the next question is, where does that fear begin? What makes your mind believe that speaking English is dangerous? To answer that, we have to look deeper, not at your brain, but at your memories, your beliefs, and the voice inside your head. The voice of judgment. There is a voice inside your head. You know it well. It speaks when you want to say something in English. It whispers, "You'll sound stupid." It laughs quietly. "Your accent is terrible." It warns you, "They'll judge you." That voice is not your teacher, not your friends, not even the people in front of you. It's something deeper, a shadow that grew slowly inside your mind. It is the voice of judgment. Every learner hears it. It doesn't shout. It simply sits there, waiting for the moment you want to speak. You open your mouth, but the voice appears first. It tells you to stop, to stay silent, to hide. And when you obey, it smiles. Not because it's cruel, but because it thinks it's keeping you safe. This voice wasn't born yesterday. It came from somewhere, maybe years ago when you were a child in class. You mispronounced a word. The teacher corrected you harshly, and everyone laughed. That sound, that mix of laughter and shame, burned into your memory. The child in you decided that speaking means danger, that if you stay quiet, no one can hurt you again. And so, a wall was built, brick by brick, around your voice. Sometimes the voice comes from comparison. You hear native speakers talk fast, effortlessly, like water flowing. Then you listen to yourself, slow, broken, unsure. The voice whispers, "You'll never sound like them." You forget how far you've come. You forget that fluency is not a race, it's a relationship between you and the language, built through patience and love. Or maybe the voice grew stronger in adulthood. You joined an international meeting, your mind full of ideas, but when you tried to share, words tangled. You made one small mistake, and someone corrected you mid-sentence. Their tone was not unkind, but your heart still heard it as humiliation. The voice returned. "See? You shouldn't have spoken." The tragedy is that this inner critic often speaks in perfect English, smoother and sharper than you ever could. It uses your knowledge against you. It reminds you of every mistake, but never of your courage. And slowly, you start believing it. But here's the truth that begins your healing. The voice of judgment is not you. It's only an echo of your past. teachers, parents, friends, strangers, who spoke without understanding how fragile confidence can be. You carried their words for so long that you mistook them for your own thoughts. Let's imagine something. You see a little child learning to speak. They mix words, laugh, repeat, and make mistakes every few seconds. No one judges them. Everyone smiles because they know mistakes mean growth. But when it comes to you, you forget that truth. You punish yourself for being a learner, when in fact, you're doing something incredibly brave, thinking and speaking in another language. The voice of judgment tells you, you're not enough. But the voice of kindness says, you're improving. The first one creates fear. The second one creates freedom. The more you listen to the second voice, the smaller the first one becomes. You can start right now. The next time that critical voice speaks, pause. Don't fight it. Just listen and say quietly, "Thank you for trying to protect me, but I don't need protection anymore." Because that's what it's doing. Protecting you from rejection that no longer exists. The people around you are not enemies. Most of them admire your effort. Many wish they had the same courage to learn another language. The moment you stop fighting your mistakes and start embracing them, your English changes. Your brain relaxes. Words start to flow. Not perfectly, but naturally. Because language lives in kindness, not in fear. Remember, every time you speak with kindness toward yourself, you rewrite your past. You build new memories that tell your brain, speaking is safe now. That's how you break the wall. Not by shouting louder, but by speaking softer, gentler, with love for yourself. Your accent is not a mistake. It's your story. Every sound carries the rhythm of where you come from. Your family, your home, your journey. That's something to be proud of, not something to hide. The goal is not to sound like someone else. The goal is to sound like you, clearly, confidently, freely. So, the next time that voice whispers, "You'll look stupid," answer it calmly. "Maybe I'll make a mistake, but at least I'll speak." Because silence never made anyone fluent. When you begin to speak with kindness instead of judgment, the freeze starts to melt. You no longer need to fight your fear. You begin to understand it. And when you understand it, you can heal it. In the next part, we'll meet others who once lived with the same fear. People who couldn't speak, who doubted themselves, yet found a way to break free. Their stories will remind you that courage is not born from perfection, but from the simple choice to try again. Stories of courage. Sometimes the most powerful lessons don't come from textbooks or teachers. They come from ordinary people, people just like you, who felt the same fear, the same silence, but decided to face it anyway. Their stories remind us that courage doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means speaking, even when your voice shakes. Let's begin with Aiko, a quiet university student from Japan. For years, she avoided speaking in English class. She knew the grammar. She knew the vocabulary. But every time she tried to speak, her mind froze, and her face turned red. She would go home feeling ashamed, wondering why her English disappeared in front of others. One day, her professor announced that every student had to give a short speech in English. Aiko panicked. She wanted to run away. But instead of escaping, she made a different choice. A small, brave one. She practiced her 3-minute speech alone every night, standing in front of a mirror. She didn't try to be perfect. She just tried to breathe. When the day came, her hands were shaking, her heart racing. But she remembered her promise to herself. Don't run. Just speak. She walked to the front, looked at her classmates, and began. Her voice trembled at first, then grew stronger. When she finished, the room was silent, not from judgment, but from respect. Her professor smiled and said softly, "Now that was real English." Aiko didn't just learn a language that day. She learned courage. Then there's Rafael, an engineer from Brazil. At work, he was brilliant, full of ideas, but meetings in English were his nightmare. Whenever international clients joined a call, he stayed silent, pretending to take notes. He told himself, "My English isn't good enough." But deep down, he knew the truth. It wasn't English holding him back. It was fear. One day, during a company meeting, his manager asked for opinions. No one spoke. Raphael felt his heart pounding, his thoughts racing. He knew what he wanted to say. He just had to say it. So he did, slowly, with mistakes, with pauses. But he spoke. The client nodded, smiled, and said, "Great point." That one sentence changed everything. From that day, Raphael joined every discussion. He stopped aiming for perfect grammar and started aiming for connection. And then there's Theory, a young woman from Myanmar. She loved learning English through stories and videos, but never spoke a word outside her room. She dreamed of working abroad, yet she couldn't introduce herself without freezing. One evening, she joined an online English club. Dozens of faces filled her screen. When her turn came, she almost clicked, "Leave meeting." But then she remembered something she'd read. Courage begins with one small yes. So she stayed. Her voice cracked on the first word, and everyone listened patiently. No one laughed. No one corrected her. When she finished introducing herself, people clapped and said, "Nice to meet you, Theory." Tears filled her eyes, not from fear this time, but from relief. She realized that the world outside her silence was not cruel. It was kind. Each of these people didn't just overcome fear. They befriended it. They didn't erase their mistakes. They accepted them as part of their growth. That's what courage looks like. It's not standing tall without fear. It's standing tall with fear and speaking anyway. Their journeys teach us something simple, yet powerful. You don't need to be fluent to be brave. You don't need to be perfect to be respected. The moment you speak with honesty, people feel your heart. And that's what real communication is. So, what changed for them? Not grammar, not vocabulary, something deeper, mindset. In the next part, we'll explore how these learners, and you, can begin to rewire the brain, turning fear into calm and silence into confident speech. Rewiring the brain. Now that we've seen what fear does and how others found courage, let's look at how you can change the way your brain reacts, how you can train it to stay calm instead of freezing. Think of your brain as a living map. Every time you feel fear and stay silent, your brain follows the same old road, the freeze road. It's a deep path, built by years of fear and judgment. But here's the good news. The brain is flexible. It can build new roads. This process is called rewiring. It means teaching your brain to take a different path, one that leads to calm, confidence, and flow. Imagine this. You're walking in a forest. One path is dark and familiar. It leads to the same place every time, silence. But if you start walking a new path, little by little, it becomes clearer, wider, and easier to follow. That's exactly how your brain works. When you speak English and your body feels safe, your brain creates a new connection. Each calm experience becomes a signal. This is safe. I can do this. Over time, these signals grow stronger. Your brain begins to trust you. It learns that speaking English is no longer danger. It's expression. But how do you practice calm when your heart is racing? It begins with something simple: a breath. Before you speak, take one deep breath and let your shoulders drop. When you breathe slowly, your brain receives a message: I'm safe. The amygdala, your inner alarm, starts to relax. You may not notice it right away, but each breath builds inner stability. You are teaching your brain that speaking is not a threat, it's a choice. Start small. You don't have to give a speech. Begin with one sentence, one greeting, one question in English. Every small attempt is training. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. Each time you open your mouth, even for a few seconds, you are proving to your brain that nothing bad happens when you speak. You are rewriting an old story of fear into a new one of courage. Find a quiet place where you feel safe. Speak simple sentences out loud. Don't rush. Feel the words. Repeat them with a soft smile. This isn't just language practice, it's emotional practice. You are not only learning vocabulary, you are teaching your nervous system to stay calm while expressing yourself. Every repetition strengthens the calm pathway, making it easier next time. Before important moments, a meeting, a class, or even a short conversation, create a small personal ritual. It could be saying softly, I'm calm, I can speak, or placing your hand on your chest and smiling. It might sound small, but rituals send powerful signals. They tell your brain, we've done this before. We're safe. Over time, fear stops being automatic, and calm becomes your new habit. Then, there's the voice inside, the one that says, you'll make a mistake, or people will laugh. Don't fight that voice with anger. Just talk to it gently. Say, it's okay to make mistakes, or even if they laugh, I will still speak. You're not silencing fear, you're retraining it. The more kindness you give yourself, the more your brain learns that fear is not a command, it's just a signal. At first, progress will feel slow. You'll still feel nervous, and sometimes the words won't come. But remember, rewiring takes time. Think of a pianist practicing the same note again and again. The first few days feel awkward, but soon the body remembers. It becomes natural. The same happens with calm speaking. Your nervous system learns through gentle repetition, not pressure. Try visualizing success before you speak. Close your eyes and imagine yourself talking freely, smiling, feeling at ease. See it clearly, your voice flowing, your heart steady. When you visualize with emotion, your brain lights up as if it's really happening. You're already training your mind before you even open your mouth. After you speak, no matter how short the conversation, whisper to yourself, I did it. Celebrate the act, not the result. That small moment of pride becomes a new signal of safety in your brain. Soon, the freeze will lose its power. You'll still feel a bit of nervous energy, but that energy will transform into focus, not fear. You'll begin to realize that the goal isn't to remove all anxiety. It's to move forward, even when anxiety appears. Real fluency doesn't begin when you speak perfect English. It begins when your brain feels safe enough to let the words flow. So take a breath. Speak again. Smile at your own courage. Every calm attempt is changing your brain, building new roads of confidence that grow stronger each day. You are not fighting your fear anymore. You are teaching it to walk beside you peacefully. And as you do, something remarkable happens. The silence that once scared you becomes the space where your true voice begins to rise. In the next section, we'll take this inner rewiring and bring it into the real world, learning how to speak with new awareness and how to turn your fear into your greatest teacher. The power of small wins. Big goals can feel beautiful, but also heavy. We dream of speaking English like a native, of giving speeches, of sounding confident. Yet, when the dream feels too big, it turns into pressure. And pressure, like a tight hand around your throat, makes your voice disappear. Real fluency doesn't grow from big leaps. It begins quietly, from small, steady steps that no one else sees. Imagine this. A learner sits at her desk, afraid to speak in class. Her teacher asks a question, and fear rises like a wave. But today she decides to whisper one word, just one. Her voice shakes, but it's there. That moment might look tiny, but inside her brain, something powerful happens. Fear loses a little of its power, and courage takes one small step forward. That is a small win that begins to build a new identity. Small wins are the bricks that build confidence. One sentence today, one smile tomorrow, one conversation next week. That's how courage grows. Every time you face a small fear and survive it, your brain records it as proof. I can do this. You don't have to be fearless. You only have to be consistent. Fear will visit, but with each success, it becomes smaller, softer, and easier to handle. Think of a baby learning to walk. No one expects the baby to run on the first day. Each step is a wobble, a fall, a laugh. The parents don't say, "You're bad at walking." They smile, cheer, and say, "Try again." That's how the baby learns. Not by pressure, but by joy. So why not treat your English the same way? Speak with curiosity, not fear. Each small step is a victory, not a failure. One learner from Brazil shared how he started with a simple goal, saying hello to his foreign co-workers every morning. At first, it felt awkward. His heart raced every time. But after 1 week, something changed. The greetings became easier. Then he asked one question. "How was your weekend?" The next day, a co-worker asked him back. The conversation lasted 2 minutes, but it felt like a mountain climbed. These moments of micro-bravery build real fluency faster than any grammar book. You see, big goals can sometimes make us blind to progress. We compare ourselves to others and forget how far we've come. But small wins remind you that growth is happening, even if it's invisible. Every good morning, every smile, every word spoken when your heart was scared, those are golden steps. They melt fear, not through force, but through gentle repetition. Start to keep a small win journal. Write one simple victory each day. I asked for directions. I joined a group chat. I corrected my mistake without shame. When you read these notes after a month, you'll see something amazing. Your courage has grown quietly behind the scenes. You're not just learning English, you're becoming someone who acts even when afraid. And here's the secret. Small wins build a loop of motivation. When you succeed, even in a tiny way, your brain releases a bit of dopamine, a chemical of joy and reward. That feeling tells your brain, do it again. Soon, your fear begins to fade, replaced by a gentle excitement to try again. You start speaking not because you must, but because you want to. Fluency is not the result of 1,000 perfect sentences. It's the result of 1,000 brave moments. Each small win teaches your brain to trust your voice a little more. Over time, those moments connect, like drops of water forming a river, calm, natural, unstoppable. So stop chasing perfection. Let it rest. Perfection is an illusion that steals your joy. Instead, listen to the sound of your own English, the rhythm, the emotion, the courage behind each word. Love that sound. It's not about speaking like someone else. It's about speaking like you. The day you stop waiting for the perfect English and start celebrating your imperfect voice, that's the day you begin to enjoy the language. That's the day your confidence becomes real. In the next section, we'll explore what happens when this joy grows deeper, when speaking English is no longer a task, but a form of emotional freedom. Speaking without fear. Imagine speaking English without that heavy weight on your chest, without the panic rising in your throat. Imagine a conversation where mistakes don't feel like disasters, but like small waves in a calm sea. This is not a dream. This is what happens when you accept yourself, all of you, while speaking. The moment you stop fighting your fear, you begin to speak freely. Fluency is often misunderstood. People think it means speed, perfect grammar, or a flawless accent. But real fluency is different. Fluency is comfort. It is the ease of letting words flow from your mind to your mouth without judgment. It is connection to the person you are talking to and to yourself. When you speak with comfort, your voice becomes alive, expressive, human. One way to start is simple. Breathe. Before you speak, take a slow, deep breath. Feel it fill your lungs and soften your body. Each breath tells your brain, I am safe. I can speak. Then pause before speaking. Don't rush to fill silence. Pauses give your words space to land. They give your mind time to organize. They give your listener time to listen. Smile while you speak. It may feel strange at first, but smiles change everything. Your face relaxes, your tone softens, and your listener senses warmth. Speaking becomes less about performance and more about connection. You notice a remarkable thing. Mistakes become lighter. They no longer block your words. Your voice moves through them naturally. Picture a learner in a cafe. She orders coffee in English. Her hands shake. Her words wobble. But she smiles, she breathes, she pauses, and she connects. The barista smiles back. No judgment, only understanding. In that small moment, she experiences freedom. It is not the perfect sentence that matters. It is her willingness to show up, to speak, to exist in the language. Another technique is to speak as if you are telling a story. Storytelling is forgiving. It doesn't demand perfection. It asks only honesty. When you frame your speech as a story, sharing an idea, a memory, a thought, your focus shifts from judgment to expression. The brain begins to release tension. The heart opens. Your words begin to flow like a river instead of a frozen lake. Remember, speaking without fear is about changing your relationship with yourself. The voice that once whispered, "You'll sound stupid," is replaced with a gentle reminder, "I am learning. I am enough. My voice matters." The more you speak from this place of self-acceptance, the more natural it becomes. Words no longer stumble, they dance. Sentences no longer freeze, they glide. Contrast shows itself here. Performance versus connection. When you chase perfection, every sentence becomes a test. Fear controls you. When you focus on connection, every sentence becomes a bridge. Courage rises. Fluency emerges not from speed, but from comfort. These small habits, breathing, pausing, smiling, storytelling, self-kindness, create a new nervous system pattern. Your brain begins to associate English with safety and joy, not threat. Your freeze dissolves. Speaking transforms from a stressful task into an act of freedom. The key is to practice daily, in small moments. Speak to a friend, a colleague, or even yourself. Record your voice. Repeat sentences softly. Celebrate tiny victories. With each attempt, fear loosens its grip, and your true voice grows stronger. Once you speak without fear, you notice something remarkable. English is no longer a barrier. It becomes a tool for expression, for connection, for joy. And when this emotional freedom combines with your daily practice, your life begins to change, not only in language, but in confidence, relationships, and self-belief. In the next section, we'll explore how these inner changes ripple into your real life, transforming not only how you speak, but how you live. The confidence habit. Confidence is not something that appears suddenly. It doesn't arrive in a speech, a test, or a single conversation. True confidence is quiet. It grows slowly, day by day, like a tree that stretches its roots deep into the soil. Each small action, a sentence spoken, a smile offered, a mistake forgiven, nourishes it. This is the habit of confidence, and it can become yours. Think back to the times you spoke despite fear. Each moment was a seed. At first it felt shaky, fragile, almost invisible, but seeds grow with repetition. Speak every day, even just for a few minutes. Read aloud, narrate your morning routine, describe what you see on the street. Each word strengthens the neural pathways in your brain that link courage to speech. Slowly, your body begins to recognize calm as normal. Fear loses its control. Self-compassion is the water for your confidence tree. Every time you forgive yourself for mistakes, your roots grow stronger. Every time you stop criticizing and start encouraging, your branches stretch higher. Say to yourself, I am learning. I am enough. I am making progress. These words are simple, but they transform your inner environment. Your inner critic begins to shrink, replaced by a gentle voice of support. Awareness is the sunlight. Notice when fear arises. Observe it without judgment. Feel your heart racing, your palms sweating, your mind blanking, and then return to calm. Acknowledge that this is a pattern, not a flaw. Each recognition weakens the old habit of freezing. Each time you breathe, pause, and speak anyway, the habit of confidence grows. Journaling can help. Write down 3 small wins each day. Maybe you asked a question in class. Maybe you greeted a stranger in English. Maybe you finished reading a paragraph aloud. Recording your progress creates visible proof of courage, proof your brain can trust. Celebrate these victories, no matter how small. They are the bricks that build lasting confidence. Contrast temporary courage with lifelong confidence. Temporary courage comes from adrenaline and stress, the energy that helps you survive a single moment. Lifelong confidence comes from consistent practice, self-kindness, and awareness. One moment of bravery is a spark. Daily practice is the flame that lights your path. With each repetition, confidence becomes automatic. Speaking English no longer triggers panic. It becomes a habit, a natural part of who you are. As this habit grows, you'll notice subtle shifts. You start speaking without overthinking. Mistakes no longer terrify you. They become part of the learning. You smile more. You pause, breathe, and choose your words with clarity. Fear is no longer a master. You are. The confidence habit is the bridge between fear and mastery. It turns moments of bravery into a lifetime of calm, capable speaking. By practicing daily, nurturing yourself, and observing your patterns, you transform not only your English, but the way you carry yourself in the world. In the next section, we'll bring all these lessons together, showing how speaking with calm confidence transforms your life, not just your language, but your mind, your relationships, and your sense of freedom. Closing reflection. Look back for a moment. Remember the learner who froze, heart racing, mind blank, words stuck in silence. That same learner is now speaking, slowly, gently, without panic, not perfectly, not flawlessly, but freely, peacefully. Every sentence carries courage. Every pause is a breath of calm. Every mistake is no longer a wall, but a stepping stone. That learner is you. Your brain was never your enemy. It was only afraid of judgment, afraid of mistakes, afraid of showing imperfection. And yet, with patience and small, consistent practice, you taught it something new, courage. You showed it that speaking English is safe. You showed it that your voice matters. You built new roads in your mind where fear once ruled. Think of all the small wins you have achieved, the whispered sentences, the smiles, the conversations, the tiny victories you almost overlooked. Each one built confidence. Each one rewrote old patterns. Each one trained your nervous system to relax, to breathe, to trust yourself. You are no longer a student of fear. You are a student of courage. And there's something else. Every story you listen to in English trains both your language and your bravery. Your mind grows, your vocabulary grows, your fluency grows, but more importantly, your courage grows. Each phrase you understand, each word you repeat, is another moment of bravery, another moment of calm mastery over what once terrified you. Language becomes not just communication, but a mirror of your inner growth. Remember, the journey doesn't end here. Every conversation, every word spoken is an opportunity to strengthen your new pathways. Perfection is not the goal. Honesty is. Speaking authentically, with heart and presence, is what matters. Speak with your story, with your accent, with your courage. Let the world hear not just English, but you. Take a deep breath. Feel the weight lift from your chest. Feel the freedom in your voice. Feel pride in the journey you've traveled. You began in fear, and now you speak with calm. You began silenced, and now your words carry strength. You began uncertain, and now your mind and heart are aligned. Next time you speak, don't aim for perfect English. Aim for honest English. Let your voice flow. Let your mistakes guide you, not stop you. And remember this: every time you speak, you are practicing more than language. You are practicing courage. You are practicing freedom. You are practicing yourself.